Hey everybody, this is Boy Green live on the Jet Zone. We're trying something new here, so bear with me without the intro, but we're right here live on Spreaker. We haven't been live in a very long time since, I believe, week 1 of last season, so this is some pretty exciting stuff here on the program, and we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We've got Jet fan mail to get to. We've got some Sheldon Richardson beef. So there's a lot to get to on the program here, and thanks for joining us. And I want to give a shout-out to our sponsor, first of all, Art of Coolin. You can go to artofkoolin.com for more information here. And this is fantastic, so let's get right to it. But before we get to all of that, what I have to address is some terrible news that happened this week. Bristly Esteem, an undrafted free agent right here out of Syracuse, and that's where we're broadcasting from. I'm actually live in Oswego, just 40 minutes south of Syracuse, and this is what I need to get to here is, this is a guy who was supposed to be the punt returner. He came in, I'm going to give a live report from Jets OTAs. I streamed it live and wrote some comments and things on EliteSportsNewYork.com. Also on all my social media, at BoyGreen25 on Facebook, at BoyGreen25 on Twitter. And Brant Boyer, the special teams coordinator for the Jets, said a lot of positive things right here. And some of the really cool things I thought was that he said that this guy could be a guy in this league. He said a lot of positive things, and to me it was very special. It was a very special moment to get recognized, and, I got a lot of beef because people said, he was getting recognition on, day 1 of OTAs, but it's more important than that. The fact that he was recognized as an undrafted free agent, the Jets have had return problems for a very, very long time, since Mike Westhoff left, to be quite honest with you. So for me, what we have to do is just appreciate Bristly Esteem. The Jets put him on IR. He tore his Achilles at OTAs. That was released earlier this week. Sorry for the late Jet Zone this week. A happy Memorial Day to everybody listening in. Thank you so much for tuning in right here on the Jet Zone on Sports War Radio. And the great thing is that the Jet Zone, it continues to evolve, and I love doing the show live, so whenever we can, it's a fantastic thing here. But Bristly Esteem, this is a guy who is small in stature but big in heart, 5'9", 175 pounds, give or take some of the measurables, and he didn't get drafted, but he was a priority free agent for the Jets. Right as soon as the draft ended, we reported it, and it was great to interview him on the Jet Zone. I got to know him throughout his time here. I've lived here in Syracuse area since 2008. I got to see his entire 4-year career at Syracuse. This is an unfortunate setback, but I know that he's going to be back. His entire life has had setbacks, and he's able to bounce back strongly. So for me, I really wanted to open up the show giving a huge shout-out to Bristly Esteem and for everything that he's been able to do, because it's fantastic. So Bristly, get well soon. And I guess we could kind of open it up with that. Who is going to be the return man for the Jets? That is not one of the questions I received. We will get to the fan mail in the second half of the program here. But who's going to be the kick returner? Because Jalen Marshall, the guy who got the most PT at the position last year, suspended for the first 4 games of the season. And who knows if he's going to even make the roster. So there's a lot of, Frankie Hammond, he's a guy who came in, another undrafted free agent. Could it be a guy like an Ardarius Stewart, who we'll get to in a moment, out of Alabama? They've got a lot of speedsters on the roster, so that could be a possibility as well. We are live. Again, the Jet Zone is live. I'm sharing that on social media as we speak to get it out there, that the Jet Zone is live. And for all the Jets fans to come join us here, there is no Ty Butler this week. We'll give you updates on that situation as well as we continue here. But, Ty could not make it on the program this week. He had conflicts over at ESPN New York. Hopefully we could get that situation figured out soon. Also, I want to give a shout-out to Joe Branham for some of our Jets questions. He's not a Jets fan, but he came in and he gave us a lot of love. So let's get to Ardarius Stewart. He's a third-round pick, and the Jets have signed all of their rookies except for Jamal Adams. Ardarius Stewart signed a 4-year, $3.25 million deal, and the great thing about the new CBA is we don't get these holdouts outside of the odd Joey Bosa situation from last season. We start to get these guys who are signing dotted lines, and we don't have any of the holdouts, which is fantastic. So that's great. And also, I want to give a shout-out. Everyone can follow me on Twitter, @BoyGreen25. You can follow the Jet Zone, @TheJets_Zone. Again, we are live. Come join us. You can ask questions. We have the fan mail in the second part of the show. And it's fantastic. Let's tag everybody here. Sorry, folks. We had to make sure that we get all the tags here before we get the program fully underway here. No issues. Okay. All right. That is tweeted out. So everybody, you can join us on Twitter and Facebook as well if you want to join us here on the program. This is fantastic. So, let's get to the rest of the wide receiving core, and that's a question that I got in this week's fan mail, but I just want to kind of get a sneak preview about it. Eric Decker, and I want to get on this rant here to continue the show. The Jets need to do something with their wide receiving core, and a lot of guys have wanted to get rid of Eric Decker. That's something I don't understand. The Jets got rid of a lot of veteran talent on the roster, and I get that with guys like, Nick Mangold, Brandon Marshall, and people of that nature. Darrelle Revis, other guys, we can argue whether they are really true leaders on this team or not, but, these are guys that were supposed to be members of this organization. They were supposed to be guys who were supposed to help this transition, and that's the thing for me, guys, is that we need to not just get rid of veteran talent to get rid of veteran talent. I know we could save a little bit of money with Eric Decker's contract, but folks, it's more important to have a veteran presence on offense because this is a very young Jets team. And for the Jets to fully understand what's going on, I think we need Eric Decker on this team. He has looked healthy through OTAs so far, and I understand their OTAs were in shorts, T-shirts, running around. He hasn't gotten that physical contact yet. But I believe that the Jets should keep Eric Decker, if he's healthy, because I think he can bring a veteran leadership to the offensive side of the ball. He can help the young quarterbacks, the Christian Hackenbergs, Bryce Petty's, also Josh McCown, a veteran guy in offense would be great to have. So Eric Decker has looked great. And let's get to some other comments here from Jets OTAs, and here are some of the takeaways. I live streamed all the press conferences, so I got to kind of report some of the stuff live, and we got some great stuff. We got to meet John Morton, from the media perspective for the first time, so we got his comments. We talked to Brant Boyer, and we also got Todd Bowles, of course, as well. And let's go to the quarterback position. There will be a three-way quarterback competition. It will be open, so we can get there as well. So it seems like that there's going to be this open dialogue here, and everyone's going to get a shot. Apparently the reps are going to be split three ways. We're going to have Christian Hackenberg, Bryce Petty, and Josh McCown all getting reps. But the real interesting thing is Todd Bowles said that he's not going to pick a starter before training camp, because usually he likes to pick a guy and kind of give him the majority of the reps so you have someone to build around and utilize the time of camp. But they said this time around they're going to kind of split the time up and let the best man win. I think it's an interesting strategy, especially since many thought that Todd Bowles and Mike McCagnon could have been fired last season, and now they're trying to mix it up in this. It's not a lame duck year, in my opinion, especially with Woody Johnson saying there's not necessarily a playoff mandate for this upcoming season, but I thought that was interesting. So Christian Hackenberg is going to get his chance. Bryce Petty is going to get his chance. Josh McCown is the veteran, who is the favorite in this three-way quarterback competition to start Week 1, is going to get his chance. And I think that's interesting. We'll get into that later when we get to the Jets fan questions. Let's go over to some more. The Sheldon Richardson beef, which is the title of this episode, Brandon Marshall, and all these other things. So Sheldon Richardson made some waves at OTAs, and who says voluntary workouts can't be fun? So Sheldon Richardson makes some waves because randomly he goes out of his way to drag Brandon Marshall back into the equation. okay? What they did is that Sheldon Richardson said that, he essentially said that, there's 15 reasons why their locker room is a better place. And obviously he was making that comment towards Brandon Marshall. And I think that that's interesting and unique that he chose to say that in that format. Because Sheldon, as a 26-year-old man, he should be more mature than this. And I want to get all sides of the story here, but Sheldon needs to be a man. He needs to stop messing around with this silly nonsense and just get with the program here. Because I think on the surface, he's right. Because Brandon Marshall caused a lot of trouble in the locker room last year. And the reason being is that he attached his boat, or whatever comment he made, to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, live or die, Ryan Fitzpatrick's my guy. And I think that was a huge mistake, to be quite frank. And obviously, when Ryan Fitzpatrick had the awful year that he had last year, I talked about this on my new home, the Score 1260, for my day-to-day operations. And I gave a rant on this on Friday. They need to work out the issues. And Sheldon Richardson, I think he could be one of the best defensive players in the game. He's not, because he doesn't have his head on straight and he makes silly decisions. But I think he has the potential. He has the potential to be a real player in this league. The problem is, he can't keep his head on straight. He makes stupid decisions. There was the tardiness problems last year. Everyone remembers the high-speed chase of him going 100 miles an hour with a loaded gun and a kid and marijuana and all these other things he had going on. He needs to get with the program. And see, here's the problem. So the Jets have a couple choices here. And I've said it in the past. My titles of articles have been, kind of get rid of Sheldon Richardson if the price is right. And do you wait and get a compensatory pick later? Do you, what do you do here? Do you just trade him now for whatever you can get and get that kind of guy out of the locker room? Because the Jets made a concerted effort in the NFL draft. Guys like Marcus May, Jamal Adams, guys who are captains on their teams, veteran, not quite veterans, but they were captains on their team. They're supposed to bring this intangible, Rome wasn't built in a day, but try to help change the culture of the locker room. When you have a guy like Sheldon Richardson who did the Snapchat video last season before a game and other immature things like that, you've got to start to think to yourself, is this guy ever going to get it? Is he going to get it? And, we're reaching a point now, again, at 26 years old, I don't know if he is. But I think the Jets owe it to themselves to try to find out, because they invested a first-round pick. He's part of that Darrelle Revis Tampa Bay trade a couple of years ago. They brought in a defensive rookie of the year. Like, the talent is clearly there. But again, he's made a lot of mistakes. Now, Brandon Marshall, he's gone. He's off the team. I think it was, despite the fact I agree that Brandon Marshall had some locker room issues with the whole attaching himself to Ryan Fitzpatrick, despite the fact that he's right, I don't think that's right. You have to be mature. You have to be above the situation, and Sheldon Richardson clearly wasn't. And this is a guy who, I saw this comment from Rich Cimini, is that Sheldon Richardson, his coach, some of the defensive coaches said that Sheldon Richardson has something to prove this season. And when that message was brought to Sheldon Richardson, he said, I don't think I have anything to prove. I just got to improve the stats. And, again, that's another immature comment. In a contract year, he's too full of his own crap that he can't really understand that, he has a lot to work on. Sure, the stats are bad, and that's what he cares about because he wants to fix that money issue, but I feel like he's too much about the money. And, that's obviously a huge issue. And if he can't perform, and especially this other bit of information we got to understand here, one more issue with Sheldon Richardson, and he's suspended for a year. And I know he doesn't understand that, but he needs to get that through his head. And to understand that fully, and the Jets understand that fully, because, the decision has always shifted. 2 years ago with the Muhammad Wilkerson contract extension, the big issue was